Welcome back to the Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Love Inc. magazine, always have been a long-term fan of it and delighted to be able to spend some time with Kimberly Weisul. She is the editor-at-large and at Inc. magazine. And if you're not familiar with Inc., I say shame on you. Does a great job of providing some pretty profound insights to what's happening in the business world, yet it's also very practical in the way its editorial approach is. And so, Kimberly, I appreciate you taking time with us today.
My pleasure. Good morning.
You bet. There's a plethora of business magazines out there. What do you think is Inc.'s unique value proposition?
You know, Inc. writes specifically for fast-growth companies. That's really what sets us apart from everyone else who covers sort of the small business sector. We are, concerned first and foremost with growth and helping companies get through that. I mean, it's very not easy, but it's possible to grow your way, past your cash flow straight into bankruptcy. So that's what we try to help companies manage throughout their life cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you say that the majority of your readers are larger small business or mid-market? What would you say the majority of your businesses are? What do they look like?
Yeah, the majority is under 100 employees, that is, so mostly small businesses. We do have some in the mid-market, and then we do also have some even at, the very larger end of companies because they look at folks who would be reading Inc. as acquisition targets, and they want to find out more about sort of what's going on in that area of the market. But mostly it's companies with fewer than 100 employees because they're the ones who are, on a percentage basis, they're the ones who are experiencing that really rapid and sometimes dangerous growth.
Yeah. So tell me what you see going on today in the business front.
We see startups doing really well in a variety of locations, but for very different reasons in each place. Energy in states such as Texas, as you probably know, and also Ohio, is fueling a lot of startups, or the energy industry in those two states. In the Northeast, there's been a resurgence on sort of the digital advertising, digital media, fashion and technology fronts. In Boulder, there's always been a pretty solid startup scene, but it's been much more robust, I'd say, in the past 10 years. And when we look at the country as a whole, we see several factors which would indicate a very good next year or two for small businesses as a whole. So we're quite optimistic overall.
So, that's pretty cool, and it is interesting to see the various different sectors of the economy. What would you say is the biggest concern? Obviously the government's healthcare program is one thing I hear over and over and over again, but what are some other concerns that you see?
Well, another one that is government-related, which hopefully is starting to go by the wayside a little bit, has just been the fact that the folks in D.C. cannot seem to get it together just to give us a functional government. Every time there is something to do with the debt or the budget, there's been a standoff, and that makes it very hard for people to invest in their companies. If people in Washington are talking about maybe it's okay if we default on the debt, that makes it very, very hard to plan for your business. So it looks like that's getting a little better with the recent budget agreement, so that's been a big worry. The other big one is consumer demand. Small businesses don't necessarily love to hire. They do it when they need to. So we've been in a bit of a holding pattern with the economy where things are kind of okay, but consumers really aren't spending again. And that is the big question mark. Like, even though we have things that are going in the right direction, such as access to credit and the housing market stabilizing, consumer demand is really sort of the second cloud that is hanging over the small business sector. Hopefully we will see some good growth. I mean, the forecast is that should happen, but we never really know until we get there.
Yeah. How long has Inc. been around? I'm assuming it's been quite a while. I've seen it for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, I believe it's more than 30 years. I'm embarrassed to tell you I don't know the exact year, but it's definitely been more than 30 years. We were, one of the first to cover entrepreneurship really in a positive way. It used to be that you were an entrepreneur if you couldn't become a doctor or a lawyer or get a job at a big company. Now that's really changed, but we were really the first to get out there and say, no, actually this is a really positive thing, not just for individuals, but for the economy and for the country.
Right. I guess you could say it's almost a democratization of business. And you guys, there's a few magazines that really made it accessible to people that otherwise wouldn't think it was.
So I think what's happened is that we've looked at entrepreneurship in the past sometimes as, again, something that people did when they didn't have a choice, right? You think about immigrant entrepreneurs and people coming here with, very, very little and then building businesses that went on to support their families and many, many others and sometimes make them quite wealthy. But it wasn't something that we thought about people doing out of choice, and people learned how to do it via, the school of hard knocks. Obviously, we can't eliminate those hurdles. That's still going to happen. This is still going to be a very difficult endeavor, but there are certain things that companies go through over and over again, and we hope to be able to shed some light there and lend a little bit of guidance.
Yeah, absolutely. Kimberly Weisul, she's with Inc. Magazine. Inc. is inc.com. Of course, one of the big challenges with a couple of minutes left is the changes in the way news is delivered. What kind of things has Inc. done to make its web platform continue to make it a viable way for you to make revenue? Because let's face it.
Well, I mean, your timing is pretty much perfect, I have to say, because we just launched a new responsive website on Friday past, which means that you'll get the same ink on your tablet or on your phone as you would get at your desktop. And from a business point of view, that allows us to, monetize when people are looking at our stories and the video and all the content that we offer. No matter where they are now, we can take advantage of that, whereas before it was really just limited to people who saw it on a traditional desktop or laptop. And, of course, for our readers, I've just been playing with the new site a lot at home. It's fantastic because you can read it very easily on your phone or on your tablet. You don't have to do all this pinching and scrolling and turning your device. So we're really proud of it. I mean, our development and design teams have done a fantastic job with it, and we're very optimistic that it's going to allow a lot more people to enjoy and to benefit from what we've been doing a lot more easily.
Great stuff. I want to encourage people to check out Inc.com. Very, very huge changes. It's been a while, apparently, at least a month or so since I checked it out. Shame on me. But you have really made some exciting changes, and I want to encourage people to check them out. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
You did a great job. And I do want to encourage people to learn more about Inc. at Inc.com. Kimberly Weisul, she is editor-at-large and our guest today on The Price of Business. When we come back, we'll have much more for you. Do want to remind you, best content here shows up over there at usdailyreview.com. That's usdailyreview.com. While there, like it on Facebook, follow it on Twitter. Stay tuned for more.